How many times have you seen the "How many people are watching this YouTube video this year?" comments? How many times have you noticed nice comments turn into complete outright angry political debates in the replies? How did things get like this? Were things better in the old days of YouTube? These are all questions that many people have. I just realized I wrote that in the script, but I don't think anybody has ever asked any of those questions before. The evolution of YouTube comments is an interesting one. With YouTube being so big and ever-changing, there are bound to be many changes with people in the comments and what people like and dislike. Many people really dislike the YouTube comment sections in general. Why is it that way? Well, of course, to answer this question, we have to go way back to the very beginning of YouTube. Let's look at the very first comment ever. Now, we actually won't be looking at the very first video yet, because the first comment actually wasn't on the first video. The first comment ever on YouTube was "LOL" by Marco Cassi on June 14th, 2005 on the video "Good Times" by Kaz. Well, this is a very fitting first comment on YouTube since "LOL" is such a common internet phrase, even to this day. Now, to get more of an idea of what comment sections were like at the beginning of YouTube, let's go to the very first video called "Me at the Zoo," posted by Jod on April 23rd, 2005. Now let's scroll to the very bottom of the comment sections to see what people were like back then. Okay, this might take a while. I can't go through 11,107,528 comments just to find some old comments. I'm going to be using the Wayback Machine to find the oldest save of the YouTube video that I can find. The oldest one I was able to find was from December 8th, 2006. You can only view 10 comments as it won't let you load other pages of comments, but right here you can get a pretty good idea of what YouTube comments were like back then. The first thing you can see is lots of XDs and smileys. It's pretty interesting to see the difference of the internet language back then. Now it's usually LMAO or something. Today, XD is the butt end of a joke, and nobody really likes to use it anymore. There are also many people talking about how it's the first video on YouTube, which is pretty common to what you would see today in the top comments or the sort by new tab, so I wouldn't say that has changed much. You can also see someone responding to what I'm assuming was a hate comment. As you can see, the internet was easily as angry back then as it is now. The reason you aren't able to see the original comment it's responding to is because back then they hadn't added comment threads like there are today, so all the old comments appear free-floating now. And you'll see random comments that seem to be talking to nobody at all, so that's why this guy looks kind of like an idiot right here. The threads weren't added until about 7 years ago, which may sound like a long time, but that's not even half of YouTube's life. I believe this big change also lined up with when YouTube decided to force people to have Google Plus accounts to comment on YouTube videos. Many people really disliked this, as people did not want to be forced to sign up for a crappy social media site that nobody used just to be able to comment on YouTube. I remember I made one of my first YouTube accounts during this period, and I think I actually made this channel during that whole thing as well. I didn't even realize that it was a new thing, but I still thought it was really annoying and just an annoying extra step to YouTube comments. In July 2015, YouTube made it so you could just sign into YouTube using your Google account, and you wouldn't be required to have to use Google Plus anymore. As time went on, YouTube comments kept changing. A popular form of comments is quoting a YouTuber on something they did in the video. This is something that has been around for a very long time. I looked back at a few old comment sections, and those types of comments didn't really seem to show up back then. I looked back at a few old YouTube comment sections, and those types of comments didn't really seem to show up much. And I started seeing this type of comment from around 7 years ago. I think a lot of what changes YouTube comments is whatever memes are popular at the time. For example, I remember for a while, half of all comments in the YouTube section were "nobody," insert action that the YouTuber did in the video format. This was around when that type of meme was at its most popular, and I see a lot of comments like that today still. I also think a lot of comments are made just for the sake of likes. I think that as YouTube got older and the comment section became more advanced, more people found the best ways to get likes. For example, people saying things like, "Who's watching this in this month?" or people just flat out stealing comments for likes. I feel like half of all the top YouTube comments are probably stolen. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen two practically identical top comments right next to each other. You can always tell who the copier is because one is usually listed as sooner than the other. There have been many clever ways to get likes over the years, but I think the most impressive one is Justin Y. If you don't remember him, a few years ago there was a commenter named Justin Y who was on seemingly every YouTube video you could find. He would get hundreds to thousands of likes on every comment, and by June 2021, he had 768,000 subscribers and not a single video on his channel. He got so big that many people hated on him in the replies to his comments. Some people get way too worked up about the stupidest things in YouTube comments. For example, politics. If you ever see a normal comment that has hundreds of replies for seemingly no reason, it's probably because people somehow got into a political debate in the replies. It's ridiculous how sometimes the simplest comments become debates. The reason for the huge amount of political arguments is easily because of how polarizing politics is now. All of the arguments is one of the biggest reasons that so many people hate on YouTube comments. Honestly, for the most part I really like YouTube comments, but I can also understand why so many people hate them. I think I should talk about the disable comments feature before the end of this video. This is something that has always annoyed people, when people aren't able to comment how they feel on a video. And then they aren't able to complain about not being able to comment in the comment sections because the comments are disabled. This is especially annoying when the likes and dislikes are also disabled, so you can't even tell what the general consensus of the video is. On the topic of disabling comments, YouTube recently made it so YouTube videos with children can't have comments in them. This really sucks as many kids have YouTube channels and aren't able to see the comments in their videos because of this. This has affected many of my old videos on other channels, which really sucks personally. This could also impact kids' potential for YouTube success, as comments are very important to helping YouTube videos grow. Also pretty recently, YouTube disabled comments on YouTube music videos, which is really annoying because I like being able to see other people's opinions on the song I'm listening to. Comments aren't disabled for music videos, by the way, but for videos that are on YouTube Music, which is YouTube's music streaming service. Alright, I think I've pretty much covered everything I can think of on the history of YouTube comments. I'm going to spare you from having to hear a long, stupid conclusion. If I missed anything important, just let me know, and I'll see you in the next video, hopefully next week. I'm trying to go weekly this summer, so hopefully for the next 8 weeks I'll be able to do that, which is about how long my summer is. So, bye for real.